Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Sports Show's NBA recap of the Los Angeles Lakers at the Detroit Pistons. This was not a good game on paper, and after a tough loss to the 76ers 107-106, the Lakers would surely respond. The Pistons were coming off a loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but with a 4-14 record, the Pistons were usually coming off losses. If you missed the game highlights, be sure to check them out on the Sports Talkline YouTube channel down below. Also, be sure to like and comment along with the recap. So let's get right into things in the first quarter. The Detroit Pistons came out firing. They would go on a 9-4 run thanks to a Blake Griffin three right here. Without Anthony Davis, the Lakers would need someone other than LeBron James to step up. And after a couple of buckets by Dennis Schroeder, would drive and give one for LA to give them the lead 10-9. The teams would trade buckets a bit and Plumlee hitting a jump shot before a big slam by LeBron. Wayne Ellington would force an early timeout by Frank Vogel's team as he drilled a three to make it 14-12 for Detroit. LeBron would shortly go off after hitting a big three from the corner, and then this three right after to give the Los Angeles Lakers back the lead 20-16. Teams would once again trade buckets, heading to the line for free throws as the game slowed down a bit. Wayne Ellington was on fire. He would hit another big three, put Detroit back up with 4:31 to go in the first quarter. After a DeLon Wright miss would give the Pistons, he would get the offensive rebound and find Grant, who extended the lead to 30-26. They were able to push it to 8 thanks to Isaiah Stewart, but the Lakers battled right back to end the quarter thanks to a three by Matthews before a strong drive by LeBron James to cut things down to 3. Detroit would lead 34-31 after the first quarter thanks to some hot shooting. LA would come out with a purpose to start the second quarter. Montrezl Harrell would go to the line off the bench before finding Alex Caruso on a nice cut for 2. Harrell would then cut things to 36-35 with a big flush, and Detroit was forced to call a timeout. After they missed on the inbound and the Lakers would turn it over, Josh Jackson came back for the Pistons and hit a big three off the fast break. The lead was once again back up to 39-35, 2 minutes into the second quarter. Not to be outdone, LeBron would nail a three of his own and then back down Jackson in the post on the very next possession for the bucket and one. Just like that, LA had the lead, 41-39. Savvy veteran Derrick Rose came to play Thursday as he would hit a runner in the lane to tie things back up shortly before pushing the Pistons lead back to 4 with a nice floater, looking like his old MVP self. Like I said, without Anthony Davis, the Lakers bench needed to step up, and Talen Horton-Tucker would do just that. Some nice movement on the ball led to a very wide open three. He would splash another one shortly after, and the Lakers were back in front with under 6 minutes to go in the half. The Lakers would finish strong, thanks to THD and Dennis Schroeder, who would make a nice move on Plumlee but couldn't finish the basket. Wayne Ellington would fire back for Detroit with a three at the 3-minute mark, but Schroeder would negate it moments later with a three of his own. The pace would pick up at the end of the half, and another Ellington three would cut the lead to 1 before Schroeder would get sent to the line and hit one of the two. The Lakers would take the lead into the half up 58-56, thanks to 20 points from LeBron James. Not to be outdone, Wayne Ellington had 14 points for the Pistons. LA was the better shooting team at 48.8% compared to 42.6%, but the Lakers had 6 turnovers to the Pistons 1. On to the third quarter we will. So the Lakers would start where they left off in the second quarter as Kyle Kuzma would hit a late three in the shot clock. Blake Griffin was having a strong game of his own for Detroit, and his improved three-point shooting was on display. He would cut into the lead for Detroit make it 61-59 with a three over LeBron James. After what looked like a 4-point play for Grant, it ended up being called a foul on the floor, but he wouldn't be denied as he would hit a 2 to tie things up. Detroit would continue to attack, and after a Plumlee block, DeLon Wright would lay it up on the other end. Kuzma would respond with a layup of his own before a KCP2. LeBron would force a timeout by the Pistons after he missed the initial 2 shots, but battled hard and muscled a third attempt in to bring the lead back to 67-63 for the Lakers. Plumlee would get a 2 off the timeout, but Kuzma would take advantage of a nice screen and hit a 3 with 6:41 to go in the third quarter. A big swing of momentum came when Plumlee was fouled hard by KCP for the bucket and one, and KCP was called for a flagrant foul. On the inbound, Blake Griffin would tie the game up at 70. Kyle Kuzma was doing all he could for the Lakers as he hit his reverse for 2 of his 22 points in the game. Derrick Rose would hit another floater in the lane, and the teams would trade misses. With 2:35 to go in the quarter, Griffin would hit a 3 to extend the lead to 80-72. It was a 15-2 run for Detroit before Caruso would slow things up with a jumper. LeBron James would find Harrell underneath, but Derrick Rose was showing his former MVP self for the Pistons with a nice move under the bucket, and Detroit would take a 4-point lead, 82-78, into the final quarter. The fourth quarter started slow for both teams with some sloppy turnovers. The Lakers would cut into things a bit before Derrick Rose would hit from beyond the arc to give the Pistons back their 4-point lead. THT and Plumlee would trade buckets before Trenton Horton-Tucker would find Montrezl Harrell underneath the bucket for the basket and one. Rose would respond for the Pistons with a layup and one of his 14 points on the evening, before THT would get the dish from LeBron and nail a 3 to cut the lead down to 1 with 8:40 to go. The shooting would go cold for both teams, and an interesting pass on the inbound by Derrick Rose led to a turnover for Detroit right here. That was an interesting one. So with 7 minutes to go, the Lakers were down by just 1, but every time they were close, the Pistons would respond. This time it was Blake Griffin with a 3. More missed shots before Plumlee was sent to the line on a drive. He hit both free throws, and the lead was back up 93-87 for the Pistons. The Lakers were running out of gas at the end of a long road trip, and it was showing. KCP would miss, and the Lakers were 0 for 6 in their last 6 attempts. Grant would drive for the Pistons and extend the lead to 8 before Ellington would push it to double digits with a 3 with 3:35 to go. The Lakers were down 11 points and looking to respond, but this play by Marc Gasol basically summed up the night for the Lakers. He knocked it to no one. Grant would throw down a big dunk before we saw some garbage time, and Ellington would put a dagger with just over a minute to go in the game with a big 3. It was one of his 20th points on the evening. The Pistons would end up going to win 107-92 in what is definitely an upset in tonight's NBA action. The Lakers lose their second straight for the first time this year and move to 14-6 on the year, while the Pistons improved to 5-14. Blake Griffin led all scoring with 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists, while Wayne Ellington had 20 points himself on 6 of 9 shooting from beyond the arc. Mason Plumlee added 17 points and 10 rebounds for the Pistons, while on the Lakers side of the ball, LeBron James had 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists, and Kyle Kuzma added 22 points and 10 rebounds in Anthony Davis's absence. Trenton Horton-Tucker looked great off the bench with 13 points, but the Lakers just couldn't do enough to beat the Detroit Pistons. They will continue on their road trip as they take on Boston Saturday night, while the Pistons head out west to take on the Golden State Warriors. So make sure to hit that like button down at the bottom, subscribe to the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. And I have been your host here on the Unnamed Sports Show NBA Recap. Until next time, NBA fans.